One day we'll start with absolutely no technical issues. But until then, good morning. Welcome to another episode of HardFoul Radio. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Appreciate you guys for joining me today. So let's get started. We got to start here. This is why sports are cool. So the Dodgers won game 7 of the World Series. And I know a lot of people are upset because baseball's in this weird space of, even though baseball's had the most parity of the four major pro sports, because the team that's spending the most money is winning, it gives people the easy go ahead to complain. Fine, I'm not going to try to stop you from complaining. It is what it is. People that like it, people that love it, it's going to happen, right? Where it is interesting though, and this is this not just interesting, but where it's amazing is Shohei Ohtani started game 7. It was supposed to be his moment. Now, I started game 7 off going, you know what? I'm nervous. I was nervous that they were going to have, that Shohei was potentially going to risk his arm, pitching on 3 days rest. He had already thrown the 96 pitches, again, the 3 days prior, and he had never pitched on short rest to start his career. And remember, we lost a season of Shohei going both ways because of overextending his pitching and having to have Tommy John. So when we had Shohei the hitter 2 years ago, we just this last couple of months have had Shohei the two-way player, the two-way phenom. But I also texted Tony and I said, look, this is why sports are amazing. Because even if Shohei were to hurt himself, if he had that moment being dominant in a game 7, the season and the player that he is, that's why you watch baseball. That's why you watch sports. You're not there for the, no offense, a 15, 16 win season and a great ERA. That happens all the time. But a game 7 short rest pitching performance and the chance to be dominant in that fashion, that's legendary stuff. And so I was all here for Shohei. Fun thing happened, and this is again why sports are amazing, is Shohei didn't do that. You know who did and was amazing? Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who came in as the Dodgers needed him late in the game after throwing a complete game in game 6, something that should not be physically possible. And he went out there, and not that he necessarily dominated, but he got the outs that the Dodgers needed. No sport, all sports have switched to analytics, no sport more than baseball. But that was, to quote the great Colin Cowherd, that was Manalytics. That was a guy who wrote an incredible story. And his story that he wrote was, hey, I'm going to get in here. And you've seen the quote going everywhere, losing is not an option. I'm going to go get these outs. I don't care if they're pretty. I don't have my best stuff, but I'm going to go get us X amount of outs. Bases loaded, bottom of the 9th. There's a 91% chance the Blue Jays are about to win the World Series. And Yoshinobu closes the door on them. High leverage, as intense of a situation as you could possibly have. And he wrote one of the coolest stories and coolest ends to a season in baseball, modern baseball history. The entire series, when they do those ESPN Instant Classics, this was an ESPN Instant Classic. The 7 games, the Dodgers in the AL East make some great World Series, by the way. Go look at the Dodgers Red Sox World Series. Go look at the Dodgers Rays. Like, they make some amazing World Series. This was an incredible performance, an all-timer, and we should be celebrating it, not going, oh, baseball's ruined because the Dodgers keep winning because they have more money. Yes, the Dodgers do have more money, but the Dodgers also spend their money correctly. The Yankees have a bunch of money. The Mets have a bunch of money. The Mets didn't even make the playoffs, and the Yankees were out after round 1. It's not just a money thing. Again, you go analytics over analytics, and when it comes time to it, and when it comes down to it, the coolest stories in sports are when a guy just goes, F your numbers, F the thought process. I'm just going to go out here and be great. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto absolutely deserved the World Series MVP. And he went out there and he was great. Gets you out of a bases loaded jam in the bottom of the ninth. Proceeds to go out there and pitch another inning plus. And it's the Miguel Rojas of the world. That home run, the same way the Mattingly home run lives forever. The same way they showed it all the time. The Toronto home run in the 93 World Series lives forever. That home run will live forever. And that's why sports are cool. When you have these moments, we always say when you're in sports media, you want storylines. Storylines are born from moments like that. The guy who's out of everybody in that Dodgers lineup, Ohtani, the Freeman, Mookie Betts, out of everybody that's there, and Miguel Rojas is the guy. That was cool. That was sports. That was postseason baseball. So shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers, back-to-back World Series champs. And yes, for our way too early MLB predictions, I will be picking them again. And again, remember, this Dodgers team was not as dominant as everybody. Yes, they got there in the end, and so people are going to complain about that. But this is a team Tony and I thought could set the World Series wins or set the regular season wins record. They weren't that. Toronto had a better record in the regular season. This team, grit, grind, yes, a very expensive grit and grind. It's nice when you have, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez. But even one of my wife, who's been a lifelong Dodger fan, one of her favorite players on the team is Tommy Edman, who's not one of the stars. He was a trade piece from St. Louis. They got him in there. He's one of the quote-unquote lower paid guys, still making $70 million in totality of his contract. But he's not one of the big superstars. He's not one of the big names. So shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're back-to-back World Series champs and have a really good shot to go 3 in a row. Moving on to the biggest game of the weekend, Chiefs-Bills, and it happened again, which is the seemingly every regular season, the Bills beating the Kansas City Chiefs, except I'm here to tell you why I truly feel like this year is different. Yes, if you are a Chiefs supporter or you're one of those people that crowned the Chiefs because they got to 500 or because they beat the Commanders out Jaden Daniels or they beat the Raiders who put anyone at quarterback, and you think they're the best team in football, then you have to acknowledge the Bills just got the best win of the regular season. Because it's not like the Chargers when they beat the Chiefs week 1, where it was neutral field and Kansas City was without Rashee Rice and lost to Xavier Worthy 2 snaps into week 1. It's not like the Eagles where some controversy in the Eagles game. Again, no Rashee Rice, no Xavier Worthy for the totality of the game, and there was some false starting going on for a play that a lot of us don't love. And then you got the Jaguars game, which is just a weird game. They had the pick 6, and again, still no Rashee Rice. So this was Rashee Rice is back. Xavier Worthy's out there. Hollywood Brown. We've all seen the numbers. It's their first time playing together. Now they've gotten games together, and the Chiefs offense is just back to being explosive and score on anybody, and the Bills defense isn't any good. And they still lost 28-21. Josh Allen with 23 of 26 against the Kansas City defense and Steve Spagnuolo. The Chiefs could only get 21 points of offense against the worst version of the Bills defense they've had since Josh Allen has become Josh Allen. So that's either the best win any team has had, beating the Chiefs because you thought they were the best team in football, or the reality is, and I'm here to put this, I tweeted this out yesterday before the game started, the reality is the Chiefs are about to go on a 3-game losing streak, yesterday included. I think the Chiefs are also about to struggle against the Colts, who are coming to Kansas City. I think they'll lose that game. And then it'll be the 5-5 Kansas City Chiefs against the 8-2 Denver Broncos coming off a mini bye. And if the Chiefs go to 5-6, again, everybody was, I wasn't one to kill the Chiefs when they were 0-2. I didn't kill the Chiefs when they lost to the Jaguars. But if you finally get your team back in totality, you have Rashee Rice, you have Xavier Worthy, you have Hollywood Brown. You've got, I guess, the one position you don't have is your left tackle, Simmons, but he's a rookie and he's dealing with a family situation. And who's to say that he would still be as great as he is supposed to be if he was playing, right? Like they went on and signed more to be a swing tackle / potentially their starting left tackle. And because Simmons fell to them in the draft, he ended up taking the starter spot. But if the Chiefs go on to lose, if the Chiefs go to 5-6, real good chance they just don't make the playoffs. And if they do, it just shows you the cracks in this team where Chris Jones is not Chris Jones. Travis Kelce is not Travis Kelce. The namesakes are there, but the high-end Hall of Fame level play, you just don't get it for everybody week in, week out anymore. They got a handful of great games left. And if they're not the 1 seed, and Mahomes can't do Mahomesian things every single time, again, this dynasty, which give them all their credit in the world for what they've accomplished, but it is much closer to the end than the beginning. This is not 20 plus years. This is not the, I guess, want to go 18 years, be technical, of Tom Brady, New England. The Kansas City Chiefs, again, losing to the Bills as they always do, that always happens. But to not be able to score more than 21 points against this Bills defense, which is the worst version of themselves. Travis Kelce, who, yes, did have – Mahomes is going to get Travis Kelce their backyard-esque football is probably going to work until Travis Kelce can play until he's 50. But consistently play in, play out, Kelce, Chris Jones, 2/4, a half your dynasty, like the major components, Mahomes, Reed, Kelce, Jones, half of the major components just aren't the players they once were. And so I think that loss was very, very telling. Chiefs still a really good team. They'll always be a really good team with Mahomes. But the dynasty aspect, everything going on there, 3-game losing streak is on the horizon. This is no longer the Chiefs era of football. Football has changed. It's a new era. Oh, man, a lot more to talk about here. It's a wonderful Monday morning. Appreciate anybody. If you are a nightcap enjoyer like I am and you still get up early to hang out with me, I appreciate you tremendously. Excuse me. If you're ever feeling sluggish, but you don't want to drink an energy drink because you don't want the crash out later, then all I can do is recommend our good sponsor here, Dubby. Go get you, use HardFoul 10 at checkout. Dubby gives you energy, no crash out later. It is healthier than normal energy drinks. As somebody who was an obsessive coffee drinker, I have cut down. I was drinking 5-6 cup of coffee a day. I've cut down to 2 or 3 just due to Dubby. Use HardFoul 10 at checkout. Get you 10% off. This is HardFoul Radio. Back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. So, one of the games and I know nobody really watched it because we're all watching Kansas City Buffalo. I get it. But the Raiders Jaguars played a game yesterday, and it was pretty telling, I feel like, of the Raiders season. And just two bad teams that I can't really take seriously, but we're entertaining at least. So the game starts, it's 6-6 going into halftime, and the highlight of the game is a 68-yard field goal by the Jaguars kicker. Now, let me tell you, as someone who's been there, when your highlights and reasons to watch the game are because of what your kicker is accomplishing, you're not really in a great space. But then the Raiders do what all quote unquote bad teams are going to do this season. And I truly feel this from the bottom of my heart. This is not just hating on the Raiders, but they're a great example of this, but there's other teams doing this too. The Raiders are going to convince themselves, and this is why most teams can't figure this out. The Raiders are going to convince themselves yesterday was a sign of good things to come, not harshly reality check themselves. And this is a little bit of a Denver flex, but I just want to follow with me here. The Raiders are going to look at yesterday's game and go, we just finally got Brock Bowers back, and Geno throws 3 touchdowns in the second half. I think 4 touchdowns in total if you count overtime. And they're going to look at that and go, see, that's the formula to win. We'd be way more competitive if we had Brock the entirety of the season. Maybe you're also still a 2-win football team, about to go to Denver Thursday night football and lose that game, and you will be 2-7. If you're not willing to harshly evaluate who you are and be serious, this is how you would continue to have years of mediocrity. This is where I said it's the Denver flex, because Miami falls into this boat. They were there on Thursday. More teams are going to need to take the Broncos model, which is if it's not working, blow it up. It's a reality. So if it's not working, blow it up. Now, Denver went through years of mediocrity and irrelevant because when Pat Bowlen went through his deal with Alzheimer's and dementia, and then his kids kind of took it over but couldn't really figure it out, and they were nosediving the Broncos. When new ownership came in and they brought in Sean Payton and they said, hey, look, I need you to figure this out. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to have nice times. Figure it out. Honestly assess the team. So Bradley Chubb gets traded. They get a draft pick back. Draymond Jones, they don't re-sign. There's a handful of guys that go out the door, right? They go, hey, I got 2 pass rushers I like, Benito Cooper. I got an offensive lineman that I like, Garrett Bowles, Quinn Miners. And I've got a receiver in Cortland Sutton who I like. And I got like one more piece on defense. Everybody else can go. And I'm going to bring in a whole new set of people. I'm going to sign new offensive linemen. I'm going to bring in new guys on defense. And you're going to see teams, and this is the big one, and this is Geno. I know there's people that are really high on Geno Smith. I'm not one of them. You're going to see teams start cutting their quarterbacks, even if they're making a lot of money. Because it's not Team Tuesday. I'm going to get into actually break down why Denver's been amazing tomorrow. But when you are still paying the Russell Wilson contract, you are still the biggest dead cap hit in the league, is what the Broncos are paying Russ. 2 years in a row. And last year the roster was really good. This year the roster is great. You're going to see more teams who are willing to just bite the bullet. There's more money in ownership than there's ever been. There's more money in sports than there's ever been. Way more money in the NFL than there's ever been. And there's only going to continue to be more money. And you're going to see these people go, hey, if my quarterback can't get it done, and the majority of this season, Geno Smith has not gotten it done. In the year of resurgent quarterbacks, in the period of resurgent quarterbacks, he had his run with Seattle where he was able to rebuild his career, and congrats to him. But him in Vegas has not worked out. And we're going to see some of these teams start going, hey, look, man, we're just going to take the dead cap hit, eat it for 2 years, build up the roster, and keep it moving. And the Jaguars, I think, are in the same boat, because even though the Jaguars are a playoff team today, ironically, the Jaguars are in the playoffs today. The Chiefs are not in the playoffs. And as much as I'd love to say, oh, look, the Chiefs aren't in the playoffs, nobody really thinks the Jaguars are going to stay in the playoffs, and no one really believes Kansas City is not going to make the playoffs. I think Kansas City is going to struggle. I said they're going to go on a 3-game losing streak, but I think they're still going to make the playoffs. And Trevor Lawrence has been the worst part of the Jaguars, objectively. The defense has gotten a bunch of turnovers, has played pretty well all season. Unfortunately, Travis Hunter's on the IR. Like, Travis Etienne's been really good. Trevor Lawrence has been the part of the Jaguars that has struggled the most. And some of these teams, they got to figure it out as far as quarterback. And if you don't have to be great. Again, Denver just has good at quarterback. Bo Nix is just good. That's it. He's not great. He's not terrible. He's just a good quarterback. Which means he's going to have good games, he's going to have bad games, and all in between. So, but the Raiders, you've got to assess, both the Raiders and Jaguars have to assess who they are, critically assess who they are, not just go, oh, we were in a really competitive, fun game in the second half. That game probably only exists between you two. And I know nobody watched that game because, again, we were all watching Chiefs-Bills, but that game only exists between you two. Moving on to a favorite part of my show, why would he say that? I really like Drake May. I do. I think Drake May is a really good quarterback. I think Drake May and the Patriots, the resurgence has been really, really cool to see. If you are, I'm not a Patriots fan, and I know the majority of America isn't happy for the Patriots because we've all rooted for franchises that have gone sustained periods of time without a great quarterback. And they went from Brady, took a couple years off, and now have Drake May. And some people feel slighted about that. The Packers get some of this resentment too, going Favre, Rodgers, Jordan Love, which we're going to talk about him in a second. I'm just curious, though, why Drake May, and this is a why would he say that, kind of addressing everybody. And I think it's the whole Drake May team, or the PR team of Drake May. So much so that NFL on CBS tweeted, Drake May has 17 touchdowns. No one has more, which was just factually incorrect. And Drake May is in a lot of people's top 5 MVP. And I'm like, shouldn't Drake May, he's got the one signature win at Buffalo, fine, given that. They're 7-2. As someone who's not a Daniel Jones guy, and I've been very critical of Daniel Jones, and I haven't put the Colts in my get excellent part of power rankings because of my feelings about Daniel Jones. What has Drake May done better than Daniel Jones this year? Again, Drake May's been really good. He's also been beating a bunch of really bad teams. And even yesterday, and the Falcons to me are a really bad team. Yes, Drake London had a hat trick, and they almost won. It was a 1-point game. Michael Penix, I like, but I don't love. I enjoy that. I like the entire quarterback draft class. But when does Drake have to have, like, their winning percentage against teams that they beat? The only team that has a worse winning percentage, and now actually might have been lapped, is the Bills had the weakest strength of schedule in terms of, or strength of wins. The Patriots were second. So how come we just kept going, okay, Drake May, and it wasn't like Drake May was having huge games. It's just a bunch of like 270, 280 with 2 touchdown games. Like, he's just consistently in that range. And yet it doesn't seem to matter. We're going to elevate him to MVP conversation. But he's not, it's not like he has the most signature wins. It's not like he has the best stats. Daniel Jones, up until yesterday, has had better stats. Matthew Stafford probably has the best pure stats of any quarterback in the NFL. 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jalen Hurts has 20 touchdowns, or 15 passing touchdowns, only 1 interception. But we don't view Jalen in the same way. I am a little curious. The Drake May PR team, again, NFL and CBS just tweets out a literal lie that he is basically phrasing to see is leading the league in touchdowns, which he just objectively was not. He has the same amount of touchdowns as a quarterback that none of you like. Him and Bo Nix have the same amount of passing touchdowns. Both thrown 2 more picks, but 17-2, 17-4. And yet we act like And Drake May is being talked about as if he is just playing quarterback on the. It's almost to another AFC East quarterback. It almost feels like Josh Allen, where and Josh Allen we know is great. Josh Allen is, in my opinion, the third best quarterback in football. I have him just behind Mahomes and Lamar. But the ability to play the way that they get PR'd and talked about as if they are even greater than their actual status. What's their actual status should be good enough. Drake is leading a resurgent Patriots team. I don't think he's an MVP, but I think he is a really, really good quarterback. I think New England has their next quarterback of the future, and I think he is on the cusp of being a true superstar. But beating the teams that they've been beating, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Jets, like, I'm not willing to go all the way there. So for everybody who is putting Drake May in these MVP top 5-ish quarterback convos, like, could we slow down a little bit? Just a little bit. And I didn't even have, like, normally when I try to do these, I try to put an exact face to him, somebody who I feel like is leading the narrative charge, and it's everywhere. It's on ESPN. It's on FS1. It's Bill Simmons. Like, it's just everybody. Like last week, ESPN, Drake May's been the MVP. I don't care what Jonathan Taylor has done. Drake May's been the MVP. And it's like, has he? Has he? Or has he just been really good? And the Patriots have been playing a weak schedule. And that's why their record looks the way that it does. And that's why he's 7-2. And again, he deserves the credit for being 7-2. He deserves the credit for the way that he's been playing. But MVP convo, I think we need to slow down a little bit. Moving on to another guy who is really interesting. And I have been Jordan Love and Bo Nix might be the two most interesting people in football. Because I think everybody, if you took them out of their teams, love their rosters. I think the Packers, if you said that defense, they have a really good offensive line. They got a bunch of receivers. Tucker Kraft, the injury at tight end is really tough, but they've had all-pro tight end play this season. Everybody would tell you they love that roster. And yet Jordan Love has just thrown some really weird clunkers out there. Yesterday, again, withstanding the Carolina Panthers, they're playing them. They're at home in Lambeau. It's his birthday. He's 27 years old. It's his birthday. And they're like, they showed the stat before the day started, and they're like, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Bart Starr, all won Super Bowls when they were 27. And Jordan Love went out there and said, I'm going to lose to the Panthers. Not a good sign. Not a good game. Bo Nix, if you took Bo off of Denver, everybody would say, oh, and Jalen Hurts should be in this. I'm giving Jalen Hurts the respect because he's already won a Super Bowl, so I don't want to throw him in with these other two. People would tell you Denver's offensive line, obviously amazing. Cortland Sutton, Pat Bryant, the rookie, Marvin Mims, Evan Ingram, like people would like the pieces. And the defense obviously is as good as any defense in the NFL. But nobody likes the quarterbacks. Or nobody loves the quarterbacks, I should think is the fairest to say. Because these two guys, if they play well, take away their opponent if you think it's great opponent or not. They got some similarities here because their best game of the season, they both dropped 40 on the Cowboys. Bo dropped 44 in a win. Jordan Love dropped 40 in a tie. They've also both had these really ugly games. Yesterday for Jordan Love, the Browns game. Bo's got the Jets game. 3 quarters of multiple games. The Eagles game. Yesterday's game was rough. But like if those two guys play above average, and maybe you think that's their ceiling, maybe that's their, that's not possible for them to do consistently. But if they're playing above average or really, really well, those might be the two best teams in football. Because those teams, it's not like the Lions who are star-studded, but it's primarily on offense, or the Eagles who are star-studded, but it's also primarily on offense. Those two teams, you could have a real argument. Their teams are actually balanced offense and defensively outside of the quarterback. Packers, Broncos both have elite defenses. Offensive lines are great. The Broncos are slightly better than the Packers. Both have, in my opinion, good weapons. The Packers have better. Both have good running games, J.K. Dobbins, Josh Jacobs. But the quarterbacks, if they're playing like when they played against the Jets and Browns, you can visibly see that's what's holding the team back from being great. That's why we don't want to, the Chiefs and Bills played yesterday, and those are two of the three best quarterbacks in football. Those are not two of the three best teams in football. And you saw Josh Allen and him be great 23 to 26. You saw Mahomes, who didn't have a great game, but you still see those throws and those moments getting down in scoring position in less than a minute to end the first half. Like, you see the potential of, oh yeah, if these guys are on their game, or Lamar on Thursday night, where he's got 4 touchdowns, 5 incompletions. You see the great quarterbacks, what they do when they're uplifting these lesser teams. But the Broncos and Packers might be the two best teams in football, with the two most interesting players in football being their starting quarterbacks. And are their starting quarterbacks going to be the thing that their seasons don't go as far as they should? Now, I think Jordan Love is going to get the Packers where they need to go. I am rooting for Bo, but they're both just good. And I know no one likes a good quarterback in 2025. Nobody does. Nobody just likes a good quarterback. They want a quarterback to be great. They want a quarterback to be week in, week out, the same exact guy, go out there, throw 2-3 touchdowns and 250 to 300 yards, no interceptions. Like, that's reserved for the elite quarterbacks. That's reserved for the Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Mahomes. Like, that's what those guys do. Everybody that's not those guys goes out there, and it is week to week, game to game. It's see what you do. Even the guy everybody wants to put in that status, Justin Herbert. Herbert has some really bad interceptions. Herbert has, yes, you could say it's his O-line injuries, but go look at his career. He's had good O-lines, he's had bad O-lines, he's had good receivers, he's had bad receivers. Like, Justin Herbert at this point, he is who he is, which is a top 5 talent, but has not put together consistently top 5 quarterback play. And so you see the ups and downs, even with someone as talented as Justin Herbert. And Herbert's more talented than Bo, and he's more talented than Jordan Love. Justin Herbert's as talented as everybody but those top 4 guys. So, but only the top 5 guys, realistically, you're getting the same product week in, week out with no true fallback or drop off. So chill out on, again, Knicks, Jordan Love, probably two most interesting guys in the NFL because their rosters are that good, and are they going to be able to sustain that for their teams? This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. A couple things here. We had hard right, hard left at the top of the hour. I might have yesterday, for the first time in a while. So when it comes to wide receiver debates, I've been on the Jetta side of the Jettas versus Chase wide receiver conversation. I might be willing to change that for the first time ever. So Jamar Chase might just be so great that any offense he's on just works. Like it just works. Like Joe Flacco, I don't believe is quote unquote turning back the clock or suddenly just like playing like the difference in Cleveland Joe Flacco, even a couple years ago when he got on that team, made the playoffs, versus what he's done in Cincinnati in 4 games, when he has been just primarily heavily targeting Jamar Chase. It's 2 different players. Those for 400 something yards against the Bears defense, which has its own issues. But the Jamar, just any offense he's on, I don't know if it has a chance to be bad. And I think the Bengals are actually finding themselves in a really bad position here because I don't think Joe Burrow fixes this. Like, we knew it was going to be a struggle anyway. We knew it was going to be a struggle because of you put all your money into T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And was that the right idea? You're in shootouts with Chicago. You can't stop anybody. You're having now locker room clashes. Like we understand the NFL. If you pay your quarterback, you are probably going to be, you're only going to be able to pay a couple more guys. And so the Bengals decided their big money guys were 1 defensive end who they didn't really want to pay and 2 receivers. So this is what that team looks like. And it's not just that you're a bad defense. You have now cracked your locker room because you're that bad of a defense, where guys are going out there and giving you, they're the first team in NFL history to score 38 plus points back-to-back games and lose both games. You drop 40 something, 15 in a minute, and you still lose to the Bears. And even though they scored, you kind of knew like, oh, you gave way too much time. And Caleb had a good game. He had 4 touchdowns. I want to give him props. I also need to see Caleb Williams have great games against not the worst defenses ever. Like, is Caleb only going to look good against the Bengals and Cowboys and just look so-so against everybody else? I need to see more. But I came from that game and I'm like, maybe Jamar is the best receiver in football because his offense, no matter who's his quarterback, always looks great. It's just like Jake Browning that year, a couple years ago, Joe Flacco this year, and obviously when him and Joe Burrow are together, like he is just a force multiplier at receiver that I don't know when the last time we saw it. I think Jettis is incredible. I think Jettis is one of the best receivers I've ever seen in my life, but I also have to start giving Chase that same level of respect and go, this is one of the best receivers I've ever seen in my life, and he just makes an offense work. He does. He just makes an offense work. It was, again, there was a lot from that game. Jamar Chase is amazing, incredible. T. Higgins, what a fantastic catch as well. I also need to see Caleb play better when it's not just horrible defenses. Like, I need him to play great or really good if it's not the Bengals or Cowboys, because those two have separated themselves. That like there's bad defenses in the NFL, and then there's whatever they put out with 11 people on their roster. And again, Bengals, I don't know what's going to save you, because does Joe Burrow get you 44 instead of 41 points? Is that what we're trying to go for? Does Joe Burrow get you to 50 points instead of 40? Like, Bengals, really tough times coming ahead. And as great as Chase and Higgins are, it's just not the way you build quality winning football teams. It's just not. Again, shout out to the Dodgers, win the World Series in 7 games. And let me also say this. If you just don't like the Dodgers, fine. I'm not here to tell you who to like or who to dislike. That's just, you're going to do that as a fan. Cool. Can we not take away all-time moments, though, please? Can we not go? Because Yoshinobu Yamamoto put up an amazing performance in this World Series to come back out in Game 7, and it was all-time stuff. People the last 24 hours, though, have been posting, well, Madison Bumgarner did this in the World Series, and it was actually statistically more impressive than what he did. And they put Randy Johnson did this in the World Series, and that was statistically more impressive what he did. You're using Madison Bumgarner, who had one of the greatest playoff runs ever, and Randy Johnson, who's just one of the best pitchers living on planet Earth. Okay, cool. Do you understand what you've done by including him in the conversation with those two guys? You're admitting it's all-time stuff. Not everything has to be he did the most ever or the biggest this or the most amount of that. All-time moments are all-time moments. And when you want to go and disqualify an all-time moment, if a guy goes out there and throws for 500 yards in a Super Bowl, are you going to say it's not all-time stuff because Brady threw for 20 more yards than that? If a team goes out there and a defense puts on a masterclass in the Super Bowl and just steamrolls the team, are you going to say, oh, well, that's not as impressive because the Legion of Boom held the Denver, which is the highest scoring offense in history, to this many points? I'm all for using numbers. I'm all for using analytics. But enjoy the moment. Even people that weren't Dodger fans, everybody was watching that World Series on the edge of their couch going, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Baseball, that was a great moment for baseball, which went through a huge decline about 2013, 2014, and then has started to build back up after these last couple of years with the pitch clock and Shohei and the resurgence of the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets. Yes, you'd love it to be a payroll or to have a salary cap and for some of these teams to compete. And I think we'll get there. And I think the more eyes are on baseball, which they are getting more eyes, I think you will see a salary cap. So teams like the Pirates with Paul Skeens will eventually have a chance to compete. But everybody watched this series and everybody was watching with excitement and everybody was watching with, oh my gosh, what are they going to do next? And everybody was enjoying themselves. Don't be that guy who's like, well, actually, like, don't do that. Oh, I don't know if he had a lower ERA or more strikeouts or better whip or better K per nine than what Madison Bumgarner did. I don't know if he had a better FIP or batting average on balls in play than Randy Johnson. I don't care. That was all-time stuff. We all watched it. We were all excited. If you were on, they were on Twitter, on Instagram. Even if you want to go to the old people on Facebook, we're talking about this World Series. This was an all-time classic 7-game series. Don't be the, well, actually, he did. That was all-time stuff. I don't care. You don't have to be number one to be all-time stuff. We are going to remember that pitching performance for a long, long time, and no one's going to care if he had one strikeout or 5. No one's going to care if he had a 0.0 or a 0.5 ERA. I don't know what Bumgarner's ERA was. I don't know what Randy Johnson's strikeouts were. I remember when they did it, and it was all time when they did it, and it was all time when Yoshinobu did it. Just enjoy the game. Enjoy the sport. Don't be that guy. Hard right, hard left, top of the hour. This is HardFoul Radio. And welcome back. It is hour 2 of HardFoul Radio on a Monday. Appreciate y'all for joining in today. So, we start off every Monday, hour 2, hard left, hard right. The thing that I got the most right last week and the thing that I got the most wrong previous week. And I feel like since it's halfway through the NFL season, I feel like it's a good time to do one of these where I check in on the teams that I've been the most right about and the teams that I've been the most wrong about. Let's start with the wrong, and it is still my biggest whiff. And I kind of brought this up a few weeks into the season because it was going downhill fast, but it's gotten even worse. If you remember, I, being the genius that I am, thought the Tennessee Titans were going to make the playoffs. I thought the addition of Cam Ward was really high on. Plus, I've said this a bunch. We can't normally, as a regular fan, watch a professional game and go, this is where they lost, because we don't know the X's and O's, we don't know the game plan, we don't know the design, a bunch of different things, right? We saw Will Levis lose 4 games on his own. Like, we all saw when it happened. And it wasn't like, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that. No, like we all were there. We were all, as LeBron James would say, we were all witnesses. So I thought the Cam Ward, the upgrade of Cam Ward over Will Levis was going to get the Titans to be in a better position. I thought Brian Callahan it's like, oh, maybe he actually is a good head coach. He's just, he had to deal with Will Levis. Hasn't worked out very well for me. The Titans lose another game yesterday where even though they got into the 20s, they didn't score an offensive touchdown. It was really weird. Like, the Chargers tried to charge that game away and they couldn't take advantage of it. Cam Ward has looked objectively really bad. Like, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to put bust or say, oh, it's not working. There's a lot of things that need to be retooled here. But so far early into his career, it's looked bad. And I'm still going to keep my Cam Ward stock. And I'm still going to think they have a chance to turn this around in the future and that he can be their franchise quarterback. That obviously was the first overall pick. But it's a really good thing. Sometimes not being talked about or heavily noticed is a good thing. If you get to fly under the radar, you're not evaluated as harshly. Like last year's draft class, like Caleb, Jaden, Drake, Bo, like they just did not have this, where they were eyes on them, super focused, criticized constantly. Like, if any of them had the season Cam Ward is having as the number 1 overall pick, it would have been rough. But Cam has been able to kind of avoid some of that because, let's be honest, a lot of us outside of hardcore Titans fans are just not watching that many Titans games. I was watching them because they were obviously my pick and I had personal investment in them, but it's been a really rough go so far as the product the Titans have put on the field. Obviously fired their coach. Cam's not playing well. The defense isn't good. That's a team that is, you got to start nailing these drafts, man. You got to nail these drafts. You're only going to have a few more years, 1 to 2 more years of a prime Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, Cam Ward, that's your building block, man. You got to get the O-line right. You got to get this defense better. You got to get the coach right. It's going to be a rebuild, but again, I thought this team had a chance to go to the playoffs. I didn't think they were that far off if they got better quarterback play out of Cam Ward. Now, part of the problem is they're just not getting better quarterback play out of Cam Ward. That is a really valid opinion and take that, yeah, maybe this team is better than they've proposed so far or better than they've played so far. But the reality is Cam is not living up to his end of that bargain and playing better than Will Levis. Like, if the bar was Will Levis, we are still at the bar. Maybe we're not even at the bar. Maybe we're still outside trying to get an ID in. Cam's young. And so there's a lot here that I was wrong about in regards to what the Titans could have been if, again, I thought they're going to be the 7th seed. I no longer think they're going to be the 7th seed. We did our team draft, and I drafted the Titans. They are really, really Tony beat me by 2 games. And it's pretty much because I have the Titans. So, yeah, Again, and that was one of those games where I think it was really rough because I think the Chargers tried to lose that game yesterday. But because Cam Ward and the Titans are just not a quality football team, they were not able to take advantage of the fact that the Chargers were trying to lose that game yesterday. And we saw the outcome. Cam has to play better. This team needs a major overhaul. They are going to need quality coach hire, a quality general manager hire, a lot of retooling. You're going to have to knock a couple drafts out of the ballpark with this. This is going to be, and Cam, we got to see it. You don't have to win next year, Cam, but we got to see better play than this. We got to. This can't be how you play going into year 3 of your career. Because the NFL moves on really, really fast. I don't think the Titans, I would be shocked if the Titans decided that, because this is considered a really good quarterback class, I would be shocked if they dropped Cam Ward after this year, because it just feels like you'd be putting another quarterback in that situation, and it would not be, I don't think any quarterback would succeed right now with the current state of the Titans. So, but you don't want to be, Arch Manning is probably staying for one more year. If he were to come out the following year, you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy, Cam Ward, that if you have another really bad season, that they would consider bringing Arch in over you. So yeah, Tennessee Titans, I was really wrong. They are not going to be a playoff team. Moving over to hard right, though, I was extremely right about my Denver Broncos. So I said the Broncos are going to be a 13-win team, and everybody said I was crazy. I was a lunatic. Bo Nix is your quarterback. What are you thinking? Currently 7-2. They play the Raiders on Thursday. They'll be 8-2. 8-2, and then they host the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's going to be the big one. If they beat the Chiefs, because if you go down their schedule, everybody else is a winnable game. They're all winnable games. And because they've already split with the Chargers, you kind of got to feel even better about that one. Because it's almost like, or sorry, not split the Chargers, because they've already lost to the Chargers. You got to even feel good about them playing the Chargers again, as that should be a split. But Raiders, Thursday, I think they win that game. Then they have 10 days off because of the mini bye. Then they play the Chiefs. Then they got Commanders, Monday Night Football. Or I think that's Sunday Night Football, actually. Sorry. They go Chiefs, bye week. And then, Sunday Night Football, yeah, against the Commanders. Then they have the Raiders again. And the Commanders we saw last night. Commanders, not very good. We're seeing the regression from that team, which, unfortunate, they had an amazing season last year, but it was really easy to see. Yes, they've had a bunch of injuries, but it was easy to see, like, the Commanders were not one of the 4 best teams in football, even though that's where they technically finished, but they did have a great season last year, and they deserve credit for that. So they should beat the Raiders. I truly believe they have a great chance to beat the Chiefs. Now you're 9-2. Then the Commanders, the Raiders again, the Packers. We'll see. Those are my 2 most interesting quarterbacks in football. We'll see who plays better. Jaguars, they're better than the Jaguars. Chiefs again. And then the last week is the Chargers, which we'll see if they're even playing, how serious that game is based on where those 2 teams are. But like I said, Denver was going to be a 13-win team, and I did most of my analysis without even bringing Bo Nix into the conversation. And everything I said about this team has been 1,000% correct. This defense, I know statistically Houston is better. This is the best defense in football because they do the best thing you can do in football, which is they harass the hell out of your quarterback. 40 sacks in 9 games. There's teams who aren't going to get to 40 sacks on the season. 40 sacks in 9 games. When they're healthy, the best secondary in football, Pat Surtain, everyone's corner they love to hate, and Riley Moss. Jade Barron's now getting snaps because of Surtain being out. Chris Abrams is getting snaps. You see how well he's playing. Jaquan McMillan in the slot. He's been one of the best slot nickels the past couple of years. Dre Greenlaw is now there healthy. Hufanga and Brandon Jones are arguably playing. You can argue there's a 1 or 2 better safety combos in the league, but they're playing like the best. This pass rush, obviously Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers, they're getting after everybody, causing hell. And then you've got the offensive line, which is played like the best offensive line in football. I know it's not the Eagles' names or the Lions' names, but objectively, they've been playing the best. Yes, Bo has to be consistently better. But when they're on, when they're rolling, when Sean Payton is dialing up his offense, yes, we all hate the screenplays. But I will say this to my Bronco fans out there. I know we hate the screenplays, but I promise you, the screenplays, even if they don't get many yards, they absolutely are pivotal. They're absolutely pivotal. And I know it drives us all crazy because it drives me crazy. But the reason why Denver is so hard to sack is not just because the offensive line is great. The reason why they're at a historic pace with sacks taken, because I only think they got sacked once yesterday. So they have sacked opposing quarterbacks 40 times. They've only been sacked 9. Some of that is the screen game because they are throwing these really quick passes. And so defenders always and pass rushers always have to keep that in mind that, hey, we can't just go light speed ahead every single play because Sean Payton is going to throw 5 or 6 screens a game. And if you're not prepared, they're going to go for these big gains. They're going to get you 30, 40 yards on a screenplay. And while it's infuriating when they go for a yard or no yards, that is a part of the formula of why Denver is successful about not having their quarterback get hit. Again, and Pat Bryant, second half of the season, looks like he's stepping into his own. Mims, who should be back, was obviously missed yesterday. They had the backup muffed to punt. And Denver, you could argue, besides the Cowboys game, which no one's going to give him credit for because the Cowboys defense is that bad, has arguably not played a great game yet from start to finish. To go first quarter to fourth quarter, offense, defense, whole thing's working, whole thing's moving. Like you could argue they haven't. And that's with now Denver's most penalized team in the league, which is a problem. I do think some of these penalties are really, really ticky tack. I do think that there is guys like we saw in the Texans game yesterday, the first pass to Troy Franklin, where the Texans corner just is already swinging down on his arms a full second, 2 seconds early. If that was Riley Moss who had a DPI, I do think they are getting some unfair penalties, and I think they are officiated oddly. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I do think they are officiated oddly, to say the least. But with that being said, this defense is spectacular. They get the quarterback better than everybody. They got one of the best. They can get your quarterback and they can cover your receivers as well as anyone. And Dre Greenlaw is going to be huge as far as dealing with tight ends, which has been kind of the one flaw in Denver's defense the last couple of years as tight ends have killed them. But I think you're going to see on Thursday night, the Dre Greenlaw versus Brock Bowers. You're going to, not that, and Brock to me is the best tight end in football. I know Tyler Warren's had some great games, but Brock Bowers is the best tight end in football. You're going to see what it looks like on Thursday night. And I think Thursday night is going to be a huge, they should steamroll the Raiders. They should absolutely steamroll the Raiders. I will not be doom and gloom if they don't, but I will be disappointed if they don't steamroll. And so again, Titans, not a great pick. My Broncos, 13 plus wins, absolutely doable. This is HardFoul Radio. We will be back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. So, one of the things I took away from yesterday, too, with the Chiefs Bills is Josh Allen. I'm going to steal a quote from Tony here in a second. Josh Allen, I don't think is quite Lamar Jackson or quite Patrick Mahomes. I don't. And I don't think Mahomes played in a game yesterday. But what Josh Allen does have, he's incredible in his own right. He's third best quarterback in football. What he does have is his A game, and this is why him and Mahomes has been so fun the last couple of years. His A game is as good as anybody's. It is just flat out as good as anyone's, and maybe as good as anyone's ever. Yesterday went 23 of 26. It just looked easy. He was finding Kincaid all over the place. Buffalo, their offense outside really of two drives, just looked like they could go up and down the field all day on Kansas City. If we played 2-hour football games, they might have scored 60 points. Like, they were just consistently just dominating Kansas City's defense. To steal a quote from Tony that I really liked, you might prefer Drake or Cole, but Wale could drop 80 on anybody. And that's what Josh Allen was and who Josh Allen has been. And that's why this rivalry has felt so close, is that even though Mahomes has all the accolades, I've heard this before, and it's, as much as I don't want to give Mahomes and the Chiefs credit, it's absolutely true, which is we've called this Manning Brady, but in reality, Mahomes is both Manning and Brady. He has all the awards, all the accolades, and all of the winning achievements. He's got the Super Bowls. He's got the MVPs. He's got all these, fastest ever 2 records, all these great statistics. The only thing that Josh has in terms of statistical aspect over Mahomes is rushing touchdowns, which he's now second in the entire NFL, only to Derrick Henry, in rushing touchdowns by any singular player. But Josh's A game, we've seen it in the 13-second game. We've seen it in the divisional round. We saw it yesterday. His A game is as good as anybody's. And this made me think about it. Because if you're going to play in the playoffs, now, most sports, unfortunately, are defined by mistakes. Like, most great moments and great games are defined by who makes that mistake. Not handing the ball to Marshawn Lynch. That's a mistake. Just this World Series, not running through the plate and instead sliding. That's a mistake. And that's what creates some of these all-time moments in sports. But the A games, when they happen, they're wonderful. They are awesome to see. And Josh Allen can provide those. And it made me think, who can truly provide an A performance? Because that's all the Chiefs have at this point. Let's just be honest. The Chiefs need a Patrick Mahomes A game to be one of the best teams in football still. Now, he can give you that. I'm not saying that he can't. But that's what they need. They are no longer, this defense is not even the defense they were last year when they were winning games all different ways, all different styles. This is not that same team. And so if Mahomes doesn't have an A game, I don't think the Chiefs can win a Super Bowl. I don't think they can win one anyway, but a Mahomes A game is a Mahomes A game. You have to give him credit for that. So maybe it got me to thinking, who can truly provide the A games to win a championship in the NFL this season? And I came out to, I got to 7. This is 4 quarterbacks and 2 defenses and 1 really special player. So let's go with the quarterbacks. Could Patrick Mahomes give you an A game and lead you to a Super Bowl? 1,000%. 1,000%. It's like, do we have to over Mahomes' resume? I'd rather not. It makes me sick every time. I'm a Chiefs hater. But Mahomes, clearly, if he gets on a heater and he's playing an A game, it's as great as any A game in the history of the sport. Mahomes could absolutely A game, and the Chiefs could win the Super Bowl. Second on the list, it may be the best A game if you actually look at it. We just haven't seen it in the playoffs yet. And that's Lamar Jackson. His A games just look different. His A games are 4 to 5 touchdowns and 3 or 4 incompletions, and that's not even a joke. He's literally done it. As well as the threat of the most dynamic running quarterback we've ever seen. I know Allen just got the touchdown record. Lamar is a far more dynamic and electric runner, and probably scares you more as a runner even than Josh Allen, and they're both great at it. Lamar's A game absolutely could get the Baltimore Ravens a championship. Now we have to see it in the playoffs, which we haven't yet, but I'm a huge Lamar fan. I believe he's absolutely got the potential and the ability to do it, but we need to see it in the playoffs. A Lamar Jackson A game can absolutely lead them to a title. What we saw yesterday, a Josh Allen A game. Josh Allen's A game could absolutely get the Buffalo Bills to a championship. I know they don't have a number one receiver, a true number one receiver. People are now, because Steve Smith has put it out there, where even people are starting to doubt Keon Coleman, which is a great study, by the way. And I'm not going to trash Keon Coleman because I haven't watched the film. I'm not denying Steve Smith's film watching ability, but it does show you how quick, when one guy who is respected, and Steve Smith is respected, goes, that guy's not good, how quickly everybody gathers that opinion. It's just incredible. But the Bills, Josh Allen, an A game, absolutely could get them to the Super Bowl. We've seen it. We have seen him in the playoffs have it. He has just ran into other guys' A games as well, primarily Mahomes. And the last quarterback that I think an A game can truly get them to a title is Matthew Stafford. I've been saying Matthew Stafford's top 5 for the past 2 years, and everyone looks at me crazy that I have him ranked higher than Joe Burrow. But the reality is I believe it. I believe Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow, and a Stafford A game is Super Bowl, not just because of the team, but in that moment, if nothing else is working. I mean, if the running game is not great or the defense is just playing okay, these are the 4 quarterbacks who, if they're playing their A game, they can absolutely win a Super Bowl. The next 2 are defenses that I truly believe, if they are playing their A game of defense, they could win a Super Bowl. Let's start with the Green Bay Packers. Micah, Rashawn Gary, what this defense has done as a whole, we've seen them at their very best absolutely dominate games. Absolutely dominate games. It's why Jordan Love, when he has these bad games, it is infuriating, because it's like, Micah said it best yesterday. Yes, they lost to the Panthers, and that's a really bad loss. They also, Micah's like, hey, look, man, Bryce Young threw for 100 yards. How many quarterbacks are winning games that are throwing for 100 yards? And he's correct. And yes, they had their worst game is against the Cowboys, but they had you go back to that week 1 Lions game, how they dominated the Lions, and we haven't seen the Lions be dominated. Like, I know the Chiefs beat the Lions, but the Packers dominated the Lions, especially from a defensive perspective, better than I think any team we've seen in recent memory. So that Packers defense, if they're playing their A game, is absolutely a Super Bowl defense. And then, of course, my Broncos, that defense, if they're on their A game, Surtain, Riley Moss, Hufanga, Brandon Jones, Dre Greenlaw, Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers. I just named all but one starter on defense. Think about how insane that is. Just named all but one starter on defense. That's how incredible they are. And Alex Singleton is better than people want to give credit for, but I'm not here to argue on behalf of Alex Singleton. He's a captain. I like Alex. He's had some struggles, but that defense, if they're on their A game, because their A game is they just neutralize those 2 defenses in particular. They just neutralize a great quarterback, because a great quarterback can be great all he wants if he's on the ground. And the Broncos are in their own world as far as how often they're getting to the quarterback. Like, it's on an all-time level. It's literally with the 85 Bears and the Steel Curtain, how often they're getting to the quarterback. But the Packers also, their ability to disrupt the way they do, those 2 defenses, if they're playing their A game, are Super Bowl level. And last but not least, the just great player who I want to give a ton of respect. Jonathan Taylor could run for 250 yards in a game this season. Now, this is some of this, he is going to need the offensive line to be there, and they have been, and their offensive line has been great. I call Denver the best offensive line in football. If the Colts say they are, I'm not mad at that opinion. They obviously have an argument for it. But the ability of what Indianapolis can do offensively and what Jonathan Taylor is able to do, it's just incredible. Yeah, man, like, Taylor's been amazing all year. If he's on an A game, it's again, and this is what you have to remember. This is why these 3 particular. If Taylor's having an A game, the other quarterback's on the sideline. because he's going to run the ball. They're going to dominate time of possession. If the Broncos and Packers defense are having A games, your quarterback's on the ground. This is still a quarterback league. It revolves around them. You have to do something to disrupt what they are doing. And these teams and these players can, these two defenses and this player can absolutely disrupt what they're doing. So the Broncos defense, the Packers defense, Jonathan Taylor, and then Matthew Stafford, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. If they are having A performances, they can absolutely win a Super Bowl. They are good enough. They are great enough. I should phrase it as such. What are we going to do with Wemby, man? The Spurs are 5-0 for the first time in franchise history. Do y'all realize how incredible of a stat that is? A franchise that had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard never started 5-0. And this guy, I don't buy tickets very often. I don't go to very many sporting events, unfortunately. Some of that is, there's a myriad of reasons. I bought tickets over the weekend to go see when the Spurs go play the Los Angeles. Now they're going to play this week. I'm not going to be there this week, but there's a game in February that I'm going to be there for, and I'm ready. I'm so ready to watch this guy live. There's very few players, and this sounds like really simple logic, but it's so true. You can have your schemes, you can run your offenses, you can have your playbooks, you can have your coaches coach you up as much as you want. There's a handful of guys in the history of sports that they just do whatever they're going to do, and you can't stop them. This was Jordan when he was scoring 30 a night. Good luck, man. You're just not getting him out of 30. This was Shaq in his prime. Good luck, man. He's just bigger than you. He is going to dunk the ball. You can't much you can do about it. This is obviously, I wasn't here for it, but Wilt Chamberlain, if you look at the stats and how people talk about him, he was just going to do what he wanted to do. Kareem with the sky hook. Like, there's just a handful of guys in the history of sports and the NBA in particular where if they want to do it, they're going to do it. LeBron in his prime, sorry, you can't stay in front of him. He's 6'9", 260, and he can jump from the free throw line. Sorry, not doing it. And Wemby is that. He's 7'5". He's athletic. He can dribble. He could shoot. He's not shooting as much, which awesome for him. Yes, he is 7'5". You know, I understand all the old school people are like, yeah, I love it. Get him back to the basket. But he's not even a back to the basket guy. He's just playing inside the 3-point line. He is the best defender in the sport already. I love Giannis, but Wemby can just do things Giannis can't do because, again, he's got 5 inches on Giannis, 6 inches. Giannis is 6'11". So he's doing things that are like, you saw the Zion blocks where he just blocked him 3-4 times repetitively in the paint because he is just bigger than everyone. And that makes the Spurs auto contenders, because if you have something that you can do that other people just can't physically stop, you can't coach around that. You can't scheme around that. Like, you can't even box Wemby correctly because he's 7'5". If you try to box double team him, he just throw the ball up higher. Like, it's how in the NFL, it's why teams that run the ball really well, it's so dangerous and it's so damning, because if you just can't stop me from running the football, I never have to throw the football, and I could just keep physically moving your guys out of the way and run to a victory. Like, you just can't physically stop me from running the football. You can't physically stop Wemby from getting the ball as close as he wants to the basket, or blocking on defense. Like, he is physically in a different class than everybody else currently playing basketball. And I wasn't ready to call the Spurs contenders because even knowing Wemby, it's like, okay, are we going to see this final product? I didn't know the final product was going to look this clean this soon. And man, I hope SGA enjoyed getting a ring. I hope Jokic enjoyed getting a ring. I hope Giannis enjoys having a ring. Because, man, the Spurs are here. Wemby's here. Good luck, guys. Good fucking luck. This is HardFoul Radio. Don't forget, We are sponsored by Dubby. Go use HardFoul 10 at checkout, get you some energy, no crash out later. Shout out to Dubby for sponsoring the episode. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Hey, JJ McCarthy, welcome to the club. I have been a big proponent of this entire last quarterback draft class. I've said multiple times the NFL gives us a bunch of bad quarterbacks, especially in that 1 o'clock window. We need more good quarterbacks. That's the reality of the situation. Not everyone has to be Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, but we need more good quarterbacks, especially considering just how big the NFL is, right? So, because of that, I have championed. I want to see Michael Penix succeed. I want to see Drake May succeed. I want to see JJ McCarthy, like everybody. I want to see them all succeed. I want to see Caleb succeed. Are there different expectations on everybody? Yes. I was kind of critical of Caleb earlier in the show because I said I do need to see him play better against defenses that aren't the Cowboys and Bengals, arguably or inarguably the two worst defenses in the NFL. But JJ McCarthy yesterday, he's kind of been this weird hidden secret where he's healthy, then he's not healthy, and he's not healthy and injured and Carson Wentz is playing with a torn labrum for a couple of weeks, and it's like, okay, well, Carson just literally can't go anymore, so now we have to throw JJ out there, so now he's magically healthy again. So it's been kind of weird, but the same way I will support. I want to see JJ do well. I want to see JJ succeed. And I think in Minnesota, and you saw that yesterday, Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell, that's what it can look like. While they were hurt going into the game, they did have their starting tackles, which obviously was a huge help. But that situation for JJ McCarthy, maybe he's not Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams on a talent level or Drake May on a talent level, but he can obviously get it done. Again, I want to see all these guys succeed. I wish the NFL had more good quarterbacks consistently. I don't want to go out there and watch. I didn't mind yesterday's Houston-Denver game because it's two of the best defenses in the league, but there's a lot of games that look like it's Houston and Denver's defense when it's not Houston or Denver's defense. So I'm glad that we are getting more good quarterback play. The NFL needs it. We should all champion it. And JJ looked really good yesterday. And we should all want that. We shouldn't want games that are, not trying to be rude, but Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, 6-6 at halftime. That's a bad product, especially for guys who are on big contracts. Trevor's making $50 million a year. Geno's making $30+ million a year. Nobody should want that as hey, look at what our quarterbacks are doing. It's well, not a whole lot. So shout out to JJ McCarthy for showing up. Yeah, man. I hope the Saints get a quarterback because I like what I see out of Kellen Moore as far as a play designer. Obviously, Rattler didn't work out. Tyler Shuck, I don't really think he's the answer either. But as a play designer, I like what Kellen Moore is doing. And shout out to, we covered the other angle of this, the Packers angle. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers, man, who are just objectively no longer a bad football team. No longer a bad football team. Are they a great team? No. But they are no longer a bad football team. They're 5-4, the same record as the Chiefs. And I know, I get it. That's not the end all be all. But they have a real running back in Rico Dowdle. They have a real receiver in Ted McMillan, even as a rookie. As far as a defense, J.C. Horn, Christian Roseborn, they have guys. They have real players who are making real plays, guys who are active, especially at home. You could argue at home, they're a really good team. They're a good team normally. At home, they're a really good team. Yes, they got smacked by the Bills last week. Welcome to the Josh Allen Bills. A lot of people get smacked. A lot of teams get smacked. It happens. But again, Bryce has been good, not great. Dowdle's been really impressive. Ted McMillan, Xavier Legette, they've got guys on this team. And so I want to give a shout out to the teams who are, this is one of my personal issues, and I guess we'll end the show on this little mini rant. It's impossible to include all 32 teams or all 30 baseball teams, or all 30 basketball teams and give everybody constant coverage. Because teams that are really bad, besides their dedicated fan base. Even the dedicated fan base sometimes don't want to talk about them or listen to them. It's hard to get them into your show because if your team's just not very good, like there's not a whole lot of Titans talk. There just isn't. They're not very good. There's not a whole lot of Cardinals talk. There isn't. They're not very good. But I don't also want a show to be exclusive to 2 to 3 teams, especially this show. So I've said this before. I love First Things First, and this isn't necessarily a rant against them, but it's just a problem with, and I don't know if it's a problem that you can fix necessarily. It exists. First Things First is fantastic. I have my issues with Nick Wright, but First Things First as a show and a product is fantastic. It also feels like it really boils down to 3 teams. If you are not 4 teams, I'm sorry. If you are not a Ravens fan, the show doesn't have a lot for you. If you are not a Chiefs fan, the show does not have a lot for you. If you're not a Patriots fan, the show does not have a lot for you. And if you are not whoever is on that week, whether it's Greg or Coach, whoever they're championing, like last week, I was really annoyed because it felt like Denver got no play on First Things First when they were coming off their best win of the season. But they talked about the Cowboys for 20 minutes and said not a word about Denver outside of literally saying the words Cowboys lost to the Broncos and then moved on to all Cowboy points. It's like the Cowboys they talk about, 5 teams, and I should give them that. They give it the Cowboys, so the Ravens, Patriots, Cowboys, Chiefs, and then whoever Greg Coach was talking about. And Coach gave love to the Broncos. He was on their power rankings, and he was like, hey, look, man, you need to move them up. And he would talk about the sack differential and all these other things. And so, but if you're not a fan, like I wouldn't want someone, like if I'm the Carolina Panthers, they deserve to get some national recognition or people talking about them. That's a 5-4 football team. Dave Canales, what he's doing. Again, Ted McMillan's great rookie season. Rico Dowdle, what he's doing. Like the Panthers deserve to get some love. Again, my Broncos, the Colts, I understand. Colts fans probably don't like me because I won't put them in Get Excellent. I understand it, but at least I will discuss you. I will have conversations about you. I got a 2-hour show to fill out, and I'm not just doing repeat topics 1 hour to second hour. Like I'm going through and trying to hit every single game. And if I don't get you on Monday, I'll try to get you on Tuesday. And I don't even try to include my own team on Mondays. My own team has a Team Tuesday segment where I go, okay, look, I'm going to be a little more Bronco focused on Tuesdays. But then at least I'm giving you the heads up of, hey, look, I'm going to be talking more Denver on Tuesday than on normal shows. But I feel like a lot of these big shows, that it's Get Up, First Things First, even Colin, Bill Simmons. Bill's a little different because he doesn't claim to, like, Bill is specifically regionally based and he's very much a part of the whole Nesson stuff. So like Bill's a little different in that regard, but to have I think if you have a good NFL team, you deserve to be a part of the conversation. And so I don't want to not include teams like seeing what the Panthers did. I would have came in here and talked about the Texans. If the Texans had won that game, and I think the Texans still have a really good chance, and the Texans, it was unfortunate what happened to CJ. I don't think it was a dirty hit, but it was still unfortunate regardless. Like, they deserve to be talked about because that defense is elite. And, if you are a Vikings fan, J.J. McCarthy's performance yesterday, that deserves to be discussed. The Bears and Bengals, which I guess I should give now First Things First OT because they have Danny on. Like, the Bears get love in that first segment because they want the bits and they want the fan reaction because Danny Parkin's obviously a Bears fan. And so, the Rams deserve love for what they've been doing. 34-10 over the Saints. Was anyone surprised it was a blowout? No, but they deserve the credit for it. That Jaguars-Raiders game, that was in the first hour of today's show. The Raiders aren't good. I don't really think the Jaguars are that good, but they deserve to be talked about. Jaguars right now are a playoff team. Chiefs aren't. The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, that's my coach of the year pick so far. He's won another game with Mac Jones. Like, I get it. It's tough to try to fit everybody in, but it's only tough because of the structure of some of these shows and them going, hey, whatever we do in the first hour, we're going to plus a bit or segment that we recur every week. We're going to run that back in the second hour. Like, no, talk about more stuff. That's okay. Sports fans, we're crazy, but I promise you, we're not that stupid. We can handle multiple teams being talked about, multiple discussions, not just, all right, we got 4 talking points today. Boom, let's hit those 4 talking points. I don't know, man. That's my issue with and I get it. You got to pay salaries and you got to get X amount of numbers to justify paying the salaries. And I don't got to pay nobody. So what the fuck do I know? Man. Monday Night Football tonight, Cowboys, Cardinals. I think the Cowboys should win. The Cardinals are unfortunately not a very good football team right now. I don't know if it's been announced yet, if it's going to be Kyler or Jacoby Brissett. Honestly, they both kind of played the same. So, but the Cowboys should roll. They just got embarrassed. I think that offense at home and that defense does play slightly better at home. Not much, but slightly. Shout out to my boy Keith. Hope the Cowboys get the win here. So I would take Cowboys over Cardinals tonight. Tomorrow, again, is Team Tuesdays. We're going to lead off talking about Denver and their place in the NFL. Appreciate you guys for joining me in on this early morning show. As always, I appreciate y'all. I was up watching Nightcap last night. Still got up early. Is what it is.